good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Grace Manzi here and welcome to my channel. Okay, today in the video I'll be showing you how I made a gathered skirt with a double waistband. As you will see on the video, it's got a waistband which is folded in half and sits firmly along your waistline. Okay, right, before we go into the video, I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers and the comments. They were so encouraging. Thank you so much. Thank you. Enjoy the video. This is the waistband, okay? It's 11 inches wide, right? 11 inches there. It's going to be 5 inches wide, the finished width 5 inches on either side, and the 1 centimeter is for seam allowance. My waistline is 38 inches, so I've cut out about 40 inches long waistband. Why? Because I will use the rest of it for the buttonholes. Okay, and I've already attached the fusible interfacing on it. Okay, so that's the waistband done. I'm going to need 2 buttons, okay, 2 matching purple buttons, and I'm going to need a black zipper, a skirt zipper. Okay, now for the skirt, the total skirt length is going to be 36 inches. So if I subtract the 5 inches for the waistband, I'm going to be left with 30 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance at the waistline. Okay, and the hem is going to be 4 inches wide. So that's 36 minus 5, 31, plus 1 inch at the waistline here, that's 32, plus 4 inches hem, that's 36. And the width is my hip measurement, which is 50 times 1.5. It gives me 75. 75 plus 1 inch seam allowance on both sides, that will be 77. Okay, so you can make it wider if you want it flary. So the first thing to do is make sure the design of the cloth is correct. Match it with the back. Okay, right, and then the first thing I'm going to do is to make 2 stitching lines here for the gathers. You can just watch when I'm doing it. After doing that, I will tell you the next step. So I'm going to do the gathers, 2 lines on both sides of my fabric. Okay, it should be 5 millimeters from the edge. So I always gauge my 5 millimeters using the end of the presser foot here. Okay, so I'll start stitching. Okay, so the second line, stitching line, is going to be 1 centimeter from the first one, and to get that I use the gauge on my sewing machine. I put this at 1.5. okay, that's 1.5 centimeters and that's 2 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to put the edge of the fabric at 1.5. okay. My 2 lines of gathers are done, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of my skirt. Before I join the 2 pieces together, I mark the center of this to allow distribution of even distribution of gathers by just folding it in half and put a little notch here. Okay, so I'll do the same on the other side. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join the two pieces together, bearing in mind that my zip is going to be on the left side, so I'm going to join up to about 20 centimeters down, okay, because that's the length of my zip. So this side I'm just going to be joining them up to somewhere there. Okay, I've joined the two sides. The next thing I'm going to do now is to overlock opening the seams. Okay, now for the zip, the first thing I do is to change the foot and put a zipper foot. Okay, right, there we go. All right, and then I'm going to open the zip, right, and then I'm going to put the zip like this, turn it facing the right side and then pin. Okay, the first thing I do is to change the presser. So once the zip is done, it's going to be looking like that. This zip is going to be looking like that once it's done. Okay, as you can see, right, and that's inside. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do now, do the gathers, right, until I have 38 inches. So I've got to match here as well and match the notch here at the front and match it with the back. Right. So to do the gathers, I get a pin, I pull the stitches out. Okay, can you see? Right, once I've got enough long enough thread here, as you can see, I hold the two threads together. I hold them together like that, and then I start pulling. Okay, putting counter traction. Okay, right, so I've got the first quarter of my gathers done. So I take my tape measure, measure it to see if I've got 9 and I've got more about 9. So yep, I need to have about 9.5. Right, once you are happy with one side and that the gathers are even, what you need to do now is to put a pin here, right, to hold the gathers in place, so that this thread, you hold the two threads that you were using to pull the gathers, okay, and then wind them around the pin, okay, up and down like that. Okay, about 4 or 5 times or even more. Okay, right, so this way the gathers are not going to run, they are secured. Okay, so this side is secured, and I'm happy that the gathers are more or less evenly distributed. So I'm going to do the same with the other side. Now for the waistband, right side of the waistband in, facing the wrong side of the skirt, right, and I leave 1/2 inch seam allowance here. Okay, you see that 1/2 inch seam allowance and a pin, okay? And then a pin with the brace. Okay, so I'm going to pin round. Now for joining the waistband to the waistline, I prefer doing it on the wrong side where the gathers are, so I can see where I can do it accurately, you know. So I make sure the gathers are well placed, and then I stitch on the second gathering line, just over that second gathering line. As you can see, all the stitching right round is done. The next thing is I'm going to trim along the first line of the gathers. Okay, I'm gonna trim like this on the first line of the gathers all the way around. Okay, so once the trimming is done, I lift the waistband up. Okay, on the side where there's ½ inch left here, I fold it back. Okay, fold it back like that. Okay, all right, leaving ½ inch at the back. All right, leaving ½ inch at the back here. Right, so a pin here. Right, so I'm going to stitch along that line first. Okay, stitch all the way. Once that is done, okay, take a pin out. I'm going to trim. Okay, I leave 5 millimeters of the seam allowance, and then notch the corner off. Okay, once I have done that, I'm going to bring this back in. Okay, like that. Right, I normally close my scissors to bring the corner in. Right, hold your scissors like that. Okay, and then bring the corner out. Okay, right, once that is done, the next thing now I'm going to do is to fold back in ½ inch. Okay, fold ½ inch in right there, like that, and then pin here. Right, pin our waistband down like so. Okay, okay, that's, I'm going to be doing this all the way around. Pin. Okay, when you used to doing these things, is so easy, you know, it's not difficult at all. So before you get to the edge, you fold the waistband back as before. Right, like that. Okay, make ½ inch stitch line here. Then you make ½ inch stitch line up to the zip. Okay, up to here. Well, it's no longer ½ inch because of the trimming that we did here. So let me undo here so you can see. Right, you see that? So you're gonna stitch until you get to there. Okay, so you pin here so you don't go over. Right, okay, stitch up to where the pin is. Fasten it there. Right, now you clip the corners like that. Right, once that is done, you turn the waistband, okay, like I did before. I use the end of my scissors. Just make sure the blades are together, otherwise you end up cutting your fabric. Okay, right, so that is done. Then I can go on and finish off folding back my waistband up to the end. All right. Okay. Once that is done, okay, the next thing I'm going to do now is to do an edge stitching. Okay, I'm going to do an edge stitching right close to the at the gather here all the way around. I finish off by edge stitching the waistband onto the sketch. Make sure I am stitching right at the edge. Okay, taking the pins out as you go along. Okay, now the waistband is in place. As you can see, it's all done. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to do the buttonholes. Now the buttonholes are done. They are quite visible at the back, as you can see. So I'm going to fasten 3 buttons here matching with the buttonholes. Okay, and the zip done. Right, the last thing I'm going to do is to do the hem. Okay, like I said earlier, the hem is going to be 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back 4 inches. Okay, measure my 4 inches. Right. It's going to be a 4 inches wide hem. So I'm going to measure 4 inches here and pin. Right. Carry on with the process until I go around the whole skirt. Okay. The skirt is finished. You might have been wondering why the long wide waistband, when you put it on, it's folded back like that. Okay, to give it a nice finish and firm support around your waistline, so when you sit down your waistband doesn't go in, and the buttons are also concealed, they are inside. Okay, so yeah, that's how the skirt will be looking like. I can't wait to try this one on. Okay.